The Pittsburgh Steelers stole versatile offensive lineman Spencer Anderson from the Kansas City Chiefs in a very unique way, with help from the player himself. So, Spencer Anderson, he's from the University of Maryland, and the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted him in the 7th round of this year's draft. And this draft class in general has earned high praise from analysis. So, the rookie, he appeared on a podcast this week to kind of talk about the draft experience and talk about being on the Steelers so far. And as he was talking, he said a couple teams he remembered that showed interest in him were the San Francisco 49ers and the Baltimore Ravens. But the actual team who almost drafted him was the Kansas City Chiefs because they told them they'd planned to draft him. So, if you guys all remember, the Chiefs held the 250th pick in the 7th round, one ahead of the Steelers in that round. The Steelers had the 251st pick. So, how did the Chiefs say they're going to draft him, but then he didn't end up going to the team? Well, here's what Spencer Anderson had to say. I was on the phone with Kansas City, and they told me they were going with me or a defensive back. I was on the phone with Andy Reid, and he was just like, sit tight. In that draft, where the Chiefs said they're either going to draft a defensive back or him at the 250th pick, if you remember, the 245th, 246th, and 247 were all defensive backs. So it looked even more like Spencer Anderson was going to be drafted with the Chiefs' next pick with 3 defensive backs off the board right before Spencer Anderson. But as he was on the phone, I guess on hold or whatever, sitting tight, he received a call from 412. Obviously, that's a Pittsburgh area code, and he kind of hung up on Andy Reid to answer that call, and that's where everything turned. So, when the 250th pick rolled around and the Chiefs went with the cornerback, Nick Jones, you knew that Spencer Anderson was not the pick, and Spencer Anderson had this to say about it. I remember watching it on the big board. He said, well, I guess they took him because I hung up, but I have already heard from Omar Khan like 3 picks before that saying that they were going to select me with their next pick. I guess it's because I hung up the phone. With him telling this story, obviously he feels as though if he stayed on the phone with the Kansas City Chiefs and just sat tight like they told him, he would have been a Kansas City Chiefs. And he would have been on the Super Bowl team who just won it last year. But no, he saw the 412 number, he knew that it was the Steelers, and he kind of hung up the phone and joined the Steelers now. Now he's going to bring versatility to the Steelers offensive line and kind of be able to play backup position or swing tackle or whatever on the Steelers because he could play multiple positions. That's what's so good about him. Even though he was drafted in the 7th round, he believes that he could have gone higher. Here's what he had to say. You always feel like you could have gone higher. You could have always be this or that. Right or wrong, now I'm here. He's also very excited to get going with the training camp activities and the preseason with the team. Here's what he said. The work still has to be put in, whether you're a first round pick or an undrafted free agent. Nothing is ever handed out to you. I'm blessed with experience, and it's been cool here in Pittsburgh. So, with him saying that, that's actually completely right. Because sometimes when you're drafted so high in the draft, you kind of have a set mindset where you know you're going to make the team regardless. You know you're probably going to get a chance to start, have more opportunities, whether you do good, whether you do bad. But when you're drafted in the 7th round or later in the draft in general, or an undrafted guy, you kind of have a more chip on your shoulder because you know it's not even close to being a guarantee of you making the roster or getting an opportunity. So you have to prove yourself more. You have to show coaches that you're here and you're here to stay and put in the work and actually be a helpful asset to the team and not just someone who's a late round pick for the right reason. You have to prove that you should have gone higher and your capabilities on the field can really show out. So, having it drafted in the 7th round with a chip on your shoulder, maybe it's a good thing for him, and he's very excited to get going. But now, just going back to the Kansas City Chiefs almost drafted him, in the past years, Kansas City Chiefs have gotten really good steals in the draft, later in rounds, or just in the 2nd round or 4th round in general. If you remember, they grabbed Creed Humphrey when he was free falling into the second round after almost being projected to be at the top of the second or late first. He fell in the second round, and now they have one of the best centers in the league in him. And even Smith, their offensive guard, he's someone who was projected maybe in the second or third round as well, but he fell all the way down to the fourth round because of injury concerns, and now they have a really solid guard on their team now. So their guys, the team, they have picked up people who have projected to do good in the league, and they have done good when other people weren't willing to take a chance on them. So maybe they were getting Spencer Anderson or willing to get Spencer Anderson, and maybe he would have turned out to be good as well, given more opportunities. Who knows? But it seems like over the years, the last recent years, the Chiefs have been good selecting guys when they've been free falling in the draft. But now, let's go back to talking about the Steelers. Obviously, the Steelers, like I said, having that chip on your shoulder, they drafted offensive tackle, left tackle in the first round in Broderick Jones, and they also double dipped at that position, grabbing a tackle as well in Spencer Anderson. But Spencer Anderson, like I said, he's very versatile. He could play offensive guard. He could be a backup at multiple positions, and that leaves other people expendable. Meaning that if the Steelers feel as though they could cut a guard, but they have to have an extra offensive tackle, knowing that offensive tackle can also play guard can really help them make decisions on their roster. Looking at the Steelers roster right now, they're really deep when you think about it, other than outside of center. When you look at their team, they have guys from last season who start at left tackle, start at left guard. They'll probably be pushed to backups now, with Broderick Jones maybe starting, and with Kevin Dotson going as a backup, and the Steelers getting Isaac Seumalo. They really have a deep offense lineman with starters who are now backups. And having Spencer Anderson as well, being an extra depth piece on the team and an extra swing guy, could be really good for the Steelers just in case if injuries happen. Last year, injuries didn't happen, and every offensive lineman for the Steelers played every game, but we know this is the NFL, high contact, people dive at knees, dive at the ground, and you're up front, and that's one of the hardest positions, offensive line, because you're always engaged with a defensive lineman, so injuries are going to happen. So if people get injured, we have so much depth on the team and so much guys who could fill in that this offensive line has really gotten better, and hopefully it's able to succeed in the pass game and able to block for Kenny Pickett, but also able to push in the run game and have open holes for Najee Harris. Spencer Anderson, he stands at 6'4", he weighs 305 pounds. That's what his draft profile was at the NFL draft. That's what he was weighed and measured at. So he's not a small guy by any means. So he's really nimble as well, and he could play, like I said, right tackle, left tackle, but also could kick back into guard because he's not a small guy and he's able to produce at that level, and he did so in college as well. So Spencer Anderson, he said that he joined the Steelers and the Steelers stole him in the draft because he hung up the phone on the Kansas City Chiefs when they told him to sit tight because they might have drafted him with their next pick, but he wasn't comfortable. He wanted to see maybe if Steelers were going to draft him, so he picked up the phone and he ended up being a Steeler, and he believes it's because he hung up the phone on Andy Reid. So with that being said, let me know down in the comments below. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about Spencer Anderson saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers stole him from the Kansas City Chiefs with help from himself? Do you believe as though the Chiefs would have drafted him with their next pick? Do you believe the Steelers stole him? Or do you believe that this is nothing, this is not a story, and it's just whatever happened, and time to move on? Let me know down in the comments below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below as well if you like Steelers content, analysis, and reports. Like the video, turn on post notifications down below for this channel as well, so you get notified whenever I post the next Steelers video. Click the bell down below so you never miss out. And I cover everything Pittsburgh Steelers news, rumors, reports, every new thing that's going to come out as we're heading into training camp, preseason, regular season, all the way back to the draft, repeating the whole cycle. I'm covering it all. This is the best spot for Steelers news to keep up to date with Steelers football. And also, if you want to see a video of me making on a specific player whether that be your favorite player on the team, whether that be a player that you're excited about, that you think is going to earn an extra spot or do really good this year, and what you want to know what they're going to bring to the team, like a new guy, just let me know. I could cover it in the coming days. Let me know. So, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.